This is part 11A on a series of videos describing the engine swapping in the 2001 Chevrolet Tahoe. In part 11, I explained that the bolt holes that hold the intake manifold down on the cylinder heads, none of the bolts would start. Either somebody had gone and reamed these threads or something happened to them. It's odd, but all 10 of them, the bolts won't start. So I stopped work and I called the owner to come look at it, and at that time we discussed it, and about the only thing I knew to do was to remove these heads and tap these bolts, or run a short 6mm. The thread is 6mm by 1, and run a short 20mm bolt in these holes from the back side, from the underside, because you can sort of see that the threads down in the hole are good. You have to get past the 3 or 4 top threads. But if I was to run a screw from the bottom in the good threads, I think I could clean them up coming out the top. Well, that would require taking off the heads, and to do that, it's about $100 worth of labor and new head gaskets and new head bolts, because these are one-time use head bolts. The reason you have to do it from the bottom is, well, you can't run a tap in the top, because if you start new threads with a tap, as soon as you meet the good threads, unless the tap was perfectly started in the right spot, those good threads and the new threads you're cutting are not going to line up, and you're going to screw them all up. So the only real good way to do it is to start from the bottom and come out the top to clean these threads up, which was what the plan was, by taking the heads off and doing it from the bottom. About $175 worth of work. But then I had this idea that what if I had some kind of a collapsible bolt where I could get the bolt down in the hole, then engage the threads on the bottom, and then work the bolt back out through the top. It would clean the threads out coming back out from the bottom. And I threw that idea out, and we really didn't think it was serious, but it was an idea. But I thought it would be too time consuming and take too much of my time to do, as opposed to taking the heads off. But then late last night, I got this idea, or I decided, you know what, that might work. I want to try that. So I got on it took me about an hour. I used my lathe, and I made this device here. I took a bolt. It's a 6mm by 1 by 35mm long bolt. And I put it in the lathe first, and I drilled a hole through it. It's hard to do this with one hand, but you can see I drilled a hole all the way through the bolt. This is a rivet pin. Let me take this pin out and show it to you. So that's a rivet pin that I took out of a rivet. And I drilled a hole through this bolt the size of that rivet pin. And I have a lathe, so that it drilled a hole right through the middle of the bolt. Then I took a Dremel tool with a metal cutting blade and cut a groove or slot in the screw from the very end to about 2/3 of the way up. And I also filed down most of the threads except for the last 3/8 of an inch on this bolt, so that they wouldn't try to engage the threads either. So I only wanted the bottom third of this bolt to engage. And so what I'm doing is I take vice grips and pinch this bolt right here. I have to put a pin in there so it can grab a hold of it or squeeze it, but when the vice grips are squeezing this, it squeezes the bolt down. Oh, also, if you notice, I filed the sides of it down too, because when I first tried this, the sides were kind of rough and they were kind of biting into the aluminum too, so I filed that down. There was a file flats on either side of this thing. But anyway, with the vice grips, I squeeze this down, and the tip squeezes together. I can't do it now because of them. Hold on, let me pull this pin out. Okay, well, you can see now with the pin out, I can squeeze these together with my fingers. Not all the way, but let's try it. Yeah, see, I squeeze that all the way down. So with vice grips holding this thing down, it squeezes the tip of this bolt down, and it fits all the way down in the hole. I've tried this first hole right here, and the bolt went past the bad threads, got down into where the good threads are, and I could feel it somewhat engaging a little bit. No, it wasn't tight, but it was starting to engage. So when I released the when I got it down in there, I mean, I got this bolt all the way down in the hole, and when I released the vice grips, I could tell it was trying to gauge the good threads down there. And then when I put the pin in there, that expanded it out to the full size of the bolt, and I backed it out, and sure enough, it straightened out this hole. So now when I put the original bolt, I have to swap hands. I'm left-handed. I'm right-handed. So when I put the original bolt in, I hold it straight up and down. It now goes in. And it goes all the way down. So bottom line is I just saved this man $175. And what I'm about to do now is repair the other 9 holes. And once I'm done with all 9 holes, I'll do one more video to recap and see how well it turned out. But it's a pretty cool trick. I thought I was onto something pretty neat that might make some money by manufacturing this tool or patenting it and selling it, but I went on the internet and found out they already make such a thing. It's called a back tap. The one I found was 14 millimeter for repairing spark plug threads from the inside out of the cylinder head, but anyway, it was a little bit different but similar in concept. So I guess that's a done deal. But I do know that when I use this tool I'm fixing to use, you're supposed to put grease. I did learn you put grease on the tip of the screw. That way it catches any of the filings as you're backing it out. The grease catches the filing, brings them out with it. So I'm going to do that. But I'm pretty confident that when I'm done here, all 10 of these holes will be repaired, and I can go ahead and put the intake back on without having to pull the heads off. So you'll try it. It's a pretty neat little concept, and like I said, I'll do one more video showing how well it turned out. Thanks for watching.